So I'd like to welcome everyone to the 2021 Pollies Conference Hall of Fame Ceremony and Campaign Excellence Awards. If y'all could come in and grab a seat, that would be great. So this night is 2 years in the making. We inducted our nominee into the Hall of Fame, and of course, she got caught up in COVID. She was supposed to be inducted at the Kennedy Center, kind of like the honors. Instead, we said, well, no, we'll go here and there, and we're finally all together in beautiful Las Vegas. And is everybody having a good time? Okay.
I'm gonna go on stage.
Tom Shepard and I were just talking. I think we have the best set of speakers that we have ever had for a conference. So I know I learned a lot today. Anyway, we're going to start the evening actually with a posthumous award to our Democrat inductee. So.
When we found out the AAPC was going to honor Ross, we asked our friends and colleagues to come up with one word to describe him. We got witty, wise,
Teacher, mentor, and friend.
Kind, good-natured, generous, really caring, really funny. He was just a caring, loving, crazy, nutty uncle, mensch.
Everybody said he's a mensch, right? And there's no greater compliment in life than to be called a mensch. Ross was in this business for progress and for people. As his partner, I can tell you he was definitely not in it for the money. Ross went to UCLA, where he majored in politics and minored in Young Democrats. Ross learned how to do direct mail by working with Henry Waxman and Howard Berman and running campaigns all across California.
Ross was one of the founders of what we would call California-style direct mail, and what that meant was early targeting of voters on punch cards. Really understanding who you were targeting mail to in a defined way.
He helped computerize the entire LA voter file, writing down names by hand. He then put them onto punch cards. They went into mainframe computers. He just did everything at the beginning of direct mail.
Ross would never mix it up. The data was really clear. He would make sure that each voter got a very targeted message that was specific to them.
Ross was really a pioneer in Democratic political direct mail. Ross was on the forefront of every empowerment movement. Latino, African American, LGBTQ, certainly female candidates. Ross worked with all of them and really helped push them forward.
Ross was very famous for putting together targeted messages to specific audiences and really engaging those audiences.
He really specialized in bringing presidential level direct mail to down ballot and smaller campaigns.
I learned a ton about how to treat people, about the political consulting business, about how to really engage a community around the work you do. Those are all things I learned from Ross Bates.
Ross loved politics, and he wanted us to love it as much as he did.
Ross really brought something special to Bates Neiman, something more special than I could ever bring it. There is a real discipline to what we did, and it revolved around these central principles.
Always give 120% to every client, whether they deserve it or not.
Treat your opponents with respect.
Republicans don't win campaigns, we lose them.
Voters aren't stupid, we are. You know, politics can be a cynical business, but Ross was in this for hope, and that's what he gave, 100%, and that's what he gave to every candidate and to every person he met.
He fundamentally cared about putting good people in office, no matter where they were in the country, no matter what level they were. He wanted good people in office to do good things.
wherever Ross Bates is, looking down at the moment, what do I think he's saying now? You're at the Pollies? I'd never be caught dead there.
I think Ross would be, frankly, rather surprised to find himself being inducted into the AAPC Hall of Fame. He was always very unassuming, never really wanted the limelight, never one of us who needed to be heard all the time. But I think he would be deeply honored and grateful. Hello. Oh, I don't know if this is working, but I'm pretty loud, so I don't think I need it. So I'm Liz Chatterton from the video, and thank you. I don't know why AAPC gave me a microphone again. Sorry. No. So I am here tonight to honor Ross Bates, who I first met in 1997 and went to work for in 1999, and was a mentor for me in many ways. He taught me to target, which is both good and bad, right? Because you can easily get lost in the math. And Ross used to always look at us and say, don't get lost in the math. The goal is to win. And we would say, yeah, but you can't win without the math. And he would say, aha. And I will always thank Ross for giving me the gift of understanding the math, of understanding the business. He really was a pioneer in the Democratic direct mail business. And I think there are a lot of folks in this room who were touched by Ross, either through myself or Joe Fold or so many other people that he mentored. And of those of us that he mentored, we went out and mentored hopefully hundreds of other people. So I like to think that Ross still lives and is with all of us, and his work in math and data and doing the right thing when the right thing needed to be done exists today. So on behalf of Bates Niemand and myself and Rich Niemand and everyone who worked with Ross, and I want to say thank you. I also want to give a lot of credit to HD Creative, Martin Hamburger and Sarah McCreary, who made that beautiful video in 3 days, by the way, because that's what we do. And to say thank you. Thank you for the honor. I know wherever Ross is, he would be truly grateful. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to bring up two of the giants on our side of the aisle, two amazing ad makers, Jim Innocenzi and Larry McCarthy. So I've had the pleasure of knowing Linda since the late 1970s, early 1980s. And I'm here to say I would not be standing here today without Linda DiVall. What she has done and continues to do for women in this industry is amazing. So I am here to say thank you, madam. Larry?
I spent a lot of time looking for some funny lines about pollsters. There aren't any. The closest line that I could come up with was said by a noted political scientist, and she said, polls are only useful for two things: cross-country skiers and strippers. Unlike virtually all of you, I was actually in campaign meetings in the 1970s, and I can tell you that there were very, very few women in the room. The women that I remember on the GOP side from campaigns in the 70s and the 80s, you could measure on less than a handful, which really, I think, puts Linda's accomplishments in even a higher plane, because she not only cracked the glass ceiling for women, GOP women in campaigns, she just shattered it through the roof. It was a tough business. She started with very little, because in those days there were basically 2 or 3 big GOP media firms and 3 or 4 GOP polling firms. And she shattered the glass ceiling, she shattered the industry, and she blazed a path which female political operatives are enjoying today. So I think it's only appropriate that Linda get this award tonight.
Wow, Larry, I didn't realize we were going to tell jokes. So this Irish couple goes to Cape Cod, and they're out there. I guess I can't tell that joke. Okay. Everybody having a good time tonight? Free booze all night long, right here. Becky Donatelli is going to pick up the tab. All right, so here's a question for you. Anybody play golf? I can't see it, but just let me hear. Anybody play golf? Yeah, okay, it's a great sport, right? Golf is one of the hardest sports in the world. And the reason is because of the 6 inches between your ears. Golf takes confidence, so much confidence. And as Larry said, Linda DiVall had a choice. She was a world-class golfer, and she could have played professional golf. She was that good. She could stand over a golf ball and put it in the hole. And let me tell you something. When you're playing at the level she played in, I think she's had a couple of championships in Virginia. She's a senior women's amateur champ. I mean, it takes a lot of confidence. So I'm going to tell you something else about Linda. I asked her the other day, Linda, if you had a billboard, everybody in the world could see it, what would your message be and why? This is what she told me. Believe in yourself and inspire others. God, isn't that beautiful? Because you have to believe in yourself. When you come to Washington, D.C. in the 70s and the Republican Party is a bunch of old white guys from the country clubs, and nobody's saying they're a Republican, what part are you from? We're a Republican, right? Nobody wants to know because of Richard Nixon. And here comes Linda DiVall. And as Larry said, she broke all the ceilings. She broke and shattered them. She shattered those glass ceilings. And so today, she has inspired an awful lot of us. What's really cool is that Linda is the first female pollster in the AAPC Hall of Fame. She has shattered another thing. It's really cool, isn't it? All right, so I'm not going to, you give me a microphone, I can talk forever. My wife says I can talk to a stop sign, so I'm not going to do this. But Linda, there are a few of your friends that had some wonderful things to say about you. So without ado, here are some things from your friends.
Linda, congratulations on being named to the Hall of Fame for the American Association of Political Consultants. Well deserved.
You've come a long way, Linda, from that freshly minted college student in 1975 to the skillful pollster and business owner who we honored tonight.
I'm so excited to participate tonight to pay tribute to the amazing career of my friend Linda DiVall.
You know, it's been decades and decades and decades and decades of hard, smart work.
The first time I saw Linda, I was in a campaign manager school in 1980. She came to teach us about survey research. It was so exciting.
I got to know Linda when I first ran for Congress in 2014.
Linda and I have shared a friendship for more than 45 years. She came to the Republican National Committee in 1974.
Linda was the first, not just not just the first woman, the first everything, including our first in our generation to start our own firm.
When Linda DiVall started her company, not many women were supposed to be running big, major national polling companies, but Linda did. Linda's done a great job.
She was a pioneer in the field of survey research. She was a pioneer for women She was a pioneer in building her own business.
For the past 19 years, I've gotten to see firsthand what a true trailblazer Linda is. Beyond Linda's golf swing, one of her greatest traits is her ability to let others grow within the firm.
Linda, you're a badass, and you don't care who knows it. You have spent your career putting your clients ahead of your paycheck, ahead of your career considerations, and ahead of doing what's easy. You've always done what's right.
Linda, you and your charts and your relentless focus on the suburban voter and the gender gap paved the way for early special election victories and the many elections to come.
Linda, anyone who has ever worked with you is so proud of your accomplishments and the integrity with which you approached your work.
I want to know what she thought. As it turned out, I never had to ask because she was always willing to tell me exactly what she thought.
And the one thing that I always admired the most was she was never afraid to tell truth to power.
You've never been afraid to stand up and tell it like it is and to take on the powers that be.
One of the things about Linda, she chose politics over being a professional golfer, but she brought the same competitive spirit that a professional golfer would have to her political work as well.
She's also the only pollster who could outdrive Dan Quayle in a contest for the longest drive. That, my friends, is the range of skills that makes Linda DiVall a Hall of Famer in anything she does.
So I am grateful to look up to Linda as a role model, to have her as an incredible part of my team, to ensure that my constituents get the best public service that they deserve, representing New York's 21st District.
I'm thankful for you. I'm proud to call you a friend. I'm proud to call you a mentor.
I can truly say there's been no greater mentor I've ever had and no better partner I could ask for than Linda. Any success I've had in the past or will have in the future, and the success of American Viewpoint overall, is really attributed to what we've all learned from Linda.
You are indeed the real deal. Congratulations on a lifetime of achievement and this award.
Congratulations on a spectacular career, and let's get that golf game going.
Congratulations, Linda. Well deserved.
Linda, congratulations on a well-deserved recognition for a great career, and I hope there's still more of it to come.
Linda, from all of us at American Viewpoint, congratulations on your well-deserved induction into the AAPC Hall of Fame.
And now, my only question is, your golf course or mine?
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2021 Hall of Fame, Miss Linda DiVall. Come on up, kid. Break into the ceiling.
We're going to take a picture first. Take it from far.
Yeah, exactly.
This one. This one. Have to come over here. You don't get to take it home. We'll ship it to you.
Thank you. Go for it.
Wow. I am overwhelmed with that video tribute and this honor this evening. I want to thank Jim Innocenzi for being the executive producer and director of this film. I want to thank all my friends for their contributions. And if I ever thought it was surprising to anybody that I played golf, I now know my clients and everybody knew about that all along. I just have to say that, first of all, to Becky's point, here we are 18 months from when the ceremony was originally scheduled, and I guess this is for real, right? To actually have a Lifetime Achievement Award was not something I ever expected to achieve. And the fact that Maricopa County and Fulton County results remain unchanged, I guess means that this is not a fraudulent election, and so we can proceed with the certification process. I want to thank the American Association of Political Consultants for so many things. One, for doing so much early on to legitimize the political consulting community. We are a business, and all of us in this room work very hard, give up family, give up a lot of time to do things that we really like to pursue. Like my new passion is now pickleball. But the AAPC has legitimized this industry, and it's really cool to see so many young people kind of set their path and saying they want to get recognized. Neil Newhouse's son, Tom Newhouse, just got an award last night, which is pretty cool to see another generation of talent in the pipeline here. And to thank Becky Donatelli for her years as president of this organization, and Jim Innocenzi for their faith in me and recognition for this award. But I have to say, this award is not just for me. It's a lifetime of support, encouragement, opportunity, and advancement from so many people. To my mentors, Wilma Goldstein and Bob Teeter, who taught me so much about survey research, analysis, and common sense. And to my dad, Bob DiVall, who passed along his love of numbers to me. My dad was a CPA and a Fortune 500 CFO. And he always said to me that nobody could ever challenge the numbers. And so that's why I picked survey research. Nobody would challenge the numbers, right? I yearn for that era in time. To Joe Gaylord, Chairman Bill Brock of the RNC, Charlie Black, Eddie Mai, Congressman Guy Vanderjack, Chairman of the NRCC, Steve Stockmeyer, Nancy Dwight, who you heard give a video segment there, they ran 2 national committees that basically fostered the spirit and culture of entrepreneurism that has inspired so many of us to pursue their dream. Neil Newhouse, Bill McInturf, Ed Goas, all of us were in that laboratory. Jim Innocenzi, we all started firms based on that experience we had at the NRCC and the RNC. It's a really cool place to be at a young age, have that air travel card and go wherever you wanted and just get back on time, except that one time when Neil and I made a detour to Mount Snow. And we had a suntan, but we had to explain that down the road. Bob Teeter, Dick Worthland, Lance Terrence, Arthur Finkelstein, Dottie Lynch, they all passed along their wisdom to me. All I had to do was listen, watch, and learn. One day, Bob Teeter, I was trying to figure out what to do with my life after 1984 at the NRCC, and Bob Teeter offered me the opportunity to join him at MOR, but I had to move to Detroit. I'm like, why do I have to go to Detroit? What am I going to learn in Detroit? So I decided at age 32 in 1985 that I was going to stay in DC and become the first female Republican to start my own survey research firm. I didn't know as much as I now know. I probably wouldn't have done it if I had been through this experience I have for the last 36 years. But it was an agonizing decision, and I had the support in terms of moral encouragement and financial support from my parents, my sister's father-in-law, and the Heiler family. And the rest, as they say, is history. But it has been an amazing journey. What's really cool about all this, coming back to Las Vegas, is my career started here in Nevada. In 1974, Mary Louise Smith became chairman of the Republican National Committee, succeeding whom? George Herbert Walker Bush. Mary Louise Smith decided that she wanted people to go out to campaigns. A novel thought, right? I think there were maybe 90 employees of the RNC. I think the last election cycle there were over 400. So she asked for volunteers. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I just graduated from Arizona State University. I was like ready to go. I got assigned to Nevada. I'm like, how much cooler can it be than that? And Eddie Mai said to me, you're going to go do tracking. I said, what does that mean? Do I go run around the block? So they sent me to Claremont College to learn how to do tracking. And I headed out here to, actually flew into Reno, met with Barbara Vukanovich, who is Paul Laxalt's campaign manager. I stayed at the Ormsby Hotel and Casino in Carson City. I'm 22 years old. This is nothing but fun. I've got an air travel card, a phone card, a rental car, and away I go. So I didn't really know that much about polling then, I hate to say. But, you know, I was trained, and so I did what I could. And my results were compared to a certain casino here in Las Vegas. And when my results matched the casino's result, the Laxalt people had faith in me that I knew what I was doing. The one thing I didn't understand was not only was I supposed to mail the results in, I mean, there was no fax machine, there were no cell phones, so I actually just mailed the results in with a little handwritten note. And, you know, I come to Las Vegas one day, I think I hear my name paged at the airport. I'm like, that's ridiculous, nobody knows me. Check in the hotel, Linda DiVall, please call your office. I'm like, what? Well, I get to my room and Eddie Mai is calling me and he's screaming bloody murder. What the hell, DiVall? Where are those results? And nobody told me I was supposed to call them. How was I to know that? So the Laxalt campaign, you might remember, he ran against a certain guy named Harry Reid. And Howard Hughes was also slightly an issue, and President Ford was also slightly an issue. And so these were things we got to test in survey research. And we immediately knew that the closest we wanted President Ford to the state of Nevada was 30,000 feet in the air directly over the state, flying somewhere else. And election day came, I showed that we would win narrowly, and Virginia City and Story County results were still out. And we kept calling them to say, where are your results? And they said, well, you know, the ballots are here on the pool table, but right now we're drinking and we're not going to get to it tonight. I'm like, well, and you know, Laxalt's brother, John, said, well, what do you mean you're not going to get to it tonight? Well, we'll get to it tomorrow, John. We're just kind of not really feeling that confident about our ability to count these votes right now. So the next morning, you know, the results finally were tallied, and Paul Laxalt won by 640 votes. So that was a pretty cool experience. And I said, wow, if you could have that much impact as a pollster to direct presidential travel, assess the impact of Howard Hughes, which was frankly positive to our swing voters because it meant jobs for the state of Nevada, I said that's where I wanted to be. So it's with immense pride that I accept this honor and think back to the many wonderful things that occurred during my career running American Viewpoint. I mean, working alongside Newt Gingrich and Joe Gaylord and pollsters Neil Newhouse, Bill McInturf, Ed Goes, Dave Sackett, Glenn Bolger, Brian Tagali, and David Winston in realizing Newt's dream of taking over the GOP, taking over the House of Representatives for the GOP. I mean, you have to give Newt a lot of credit. He just spurred all of us on to think big thoughts, to really dream big and make this happen. And I have an appreciation for so many people. You heard Roy Blunt talk. He was not my first client. Nancy Johnson and Bill Emerson from Missouri were my first clients, and from Bill Emerson, I was introduced to Roy Blunt. But in 1990, two individuals decided to run for governor in their states, Roy Blunt and Johnny Isakson. They both lost, but they stood by me, and they went on to run for the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate, and they hired American Viewpoint. And we've been the pollster for the Blunt family in so many contests. I mean, they are like family to us. Being selected as the pollster for Senator Richard Lugar, Phil Gramm, Fred Thompson, Kelly Ayotte, Sonny Bono, that was a blast. Newt, Elise Tilly Fowler, Elizabeth Dole, George Bush, Mitt Romney, John McCain, John Porter, Sherry Boehlert, Mike Braun, Mike Oxley, Governor Brian Kemp right now. They all reveal a common denominator, that across the ideological spectrum, our clients recognize the quality research that they will receive from American Viewpoint. And as Randy and others have said, the candid assessment and the strategic direction that we provide them. And realize that American Viewpoint has an unparalleled reputation for integrity, quality control, and going the distance for our clients and realizing their objectives. The one thing I've always passed along to anyone who's part of the American Viewpoint team is this. Our name is not on the ballot, our client's name is on the ballot. And we need to move heaven and earth to make sure that they get elected, and we deliver to them the most candid assessment that we can of where they are. This is not about making us feel good. It is about looking at the data and understanding what can be done to change the equation for them to win. And so at the end of the day, we need to answer this one question. Did I do everything in my power to provide quality data and strategic perspective that will make a difference to our client in achieving victory and accomplishing their objectives? This industry has not been without its challenges. And again, AAPC has been helpful. Republicans and Democrat pollsters together have worked over the years to try to resolve some of the problems that we face. Our industry has faced some threats. Obviously, you know what they are. We've got increased cell phone usage, block calls, a pandemic, ranked ballot choice voting for crying out loud, early voting, mail-in voting, election day shenanigans in certain states. All these things present problems. But we've worked through that. And, you know, I'm proud of that. Just go back to the old days when I was with Bill Brock at the RNC. You could make 3 calls to get one completed interview. You know what it is today? About 200. In states like Georgia, Maine, and New Hampshire, where we have so many different races going on at the same time that are targeted by so many different entities, it could be 300 interviews at one time. So the goal of obtaining a representative sample is always the key challenge. But it's something that both sides of the aisle work very closely to adhere to and try to advance their technique. The most important challenge today, in my mind, is a threat to our democracy. that attempts to undermine our privilege to vote and support candidates that we want to represent us and showcase our American way of life and democracy. Candidate recruitment, in my mind, is the most critical thing. Who wants to run for office today? It's up to us in this room to identify those unique individuals, to provide our energy, our insight, our experience, and our dedication to making those stellar candidates stand out and get elected, because that's how our democracy will survive. On a lighter side, as some of you know, I used to be a consultant for CBS News. And working with Leslie Stahl, Connie Chun, Ed Bradley, Bob Schieffer, and Dan Rather was interesting. And I was always asked, well, did you ever experience any bias as a Republican from anybody at CBS News? So let me share with you two short stories. One, in 2000, Harrison Hickman and I were the consultants for Dan Rather. Now, we go through dress rehearsals at CBS. You have the Friday night rehearsal, then you have the Saturday night rehearsal. They are torture. It goes from 8 p.m. to maybe midnight. And obviously the consultants are, they're on their game. They want to demonstrate why their side will win. And as some of you may know, I'm a little bit competitive. So I kind of relished this time. And so I had Ed Gillespie and Carl Rove on my speed dial if, Dan or Bob wanted to talk to them about Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, or New Hampshire. Yeah, they weren't that interested. At the end of the evening, and this evening is basically designed so that all the reporters and the anchors and all the producers will understand any eventuality that occur on election day and can kind of move with that and respond quickly. So at the end of the evening, Dan shouted out to me across the anchor desk, "Linda, how do you think we did tonight?" And my response was, "You might want to practice a George W. Bush win tomorrow night." It was all about Al Gore winning. And I just didn't see that happening. Now then again, nothing could have prepared us for what actually happened that night. But the other interesting story I have is in 2002, Randy Gutermuth and I were the pollsters for Jim Talent in Missouri, who was challenging Gene Carnahan for the U.S. Senate seat. Randy was at headquarters in St. Louis. I was in New York City with Dan Rather. The the election night coverage was going to end when David Letterman came on the air. So, like 11:30, we were going to be off the air. And Randy had really said to everybody in the blunt campaign or in the talent campaign, they're going to hold the results in St. Louis City until they see what's going on in the rest of the state. And sure enough, the returns were slow enough, very slow coming in. So the campaign wanted a call to be made. CBS was having nothing of that. I looked at the clock and I realized we had 2 minutes left to make the call live while CBS Election Night was still on the air. I had the phone to my ear and Randy comes on, he goes, "Listen to what they're saying here on local television in Missouri." And I hear the words, I said, "Dan, come here. Gene Carnahan has just conceded the election to Jim Talent." I said, "Dan, do you think we can make the call now?" So, certain things like that, you have to hold your ground and you have to have the courage to say, what you think, even though it might go against some of the protocol that is going on at that particular network. Anyhow, the media experience was always fun. The one that was probably the hardest for me personally was doing a hardball with Chris Matthews, because every time he called me to go on the air, I would develop an instant migraine headache. He always had too many guests. He had no interest in talking to you. It was just about his own monologue, exactly like another morning show on MSNBC. But he called me to be on the air the night that Elizabeth Dole dropped out of the race, and I was her pollster, so I decided to accept his invitation. And he went on his monologue, and he actually said to me, "Linda, I'll tell you one reason that Elizabeth Dole is dropping out of this race. It's because she refused to do network shows and never appeared on this show." I was astounded, but not too astounded to simply state, "Chris, I'm not aware that he'd have to come on hardball as a prerequisite to being elected president of the United States." Well, Michael Barone was in the green room. He was the next guest, and he looked at me with a big laugh. He goes, "Linda, that was great, but you'll never be invited back to this show." And he was right. So I've accomplished a lot in my career, creating the time and decision-making model that led to the 72-hour program, our own darts that we use internally that our consultants love to look at, the seen, read, or heard, and the verbatim comments. We could go on for hours about our favorite verbatim of the day during the tracking season. I'm sure Neil at POS has some of the same experiences. But the thing that I really am the proudest of in my over 36 years in this business are two things. One, the friendships and relationships I've developed. I mean, Neil and Bill, you know, we've grown up together in this business. Neil and I and Ed Goes used to play cutthroat racquetball. And if anybody, you know, went home with, you know, not some bodily injury, there was something wrong. Neil and I actually had knee surgery together, and his wife took care of us both at the same time from racquetball injuries. But my greatest accomplishment has been in hiring people who are smarter than me to become a part of the American Viewpoint team. Through my dad and Lee Thorough, we implemented a profit-sharing plan for our employees, in addition to a bonus system, because we all want to realize our success together. It's not one person or two people that makes it happen. It's an entire team. And as with any company, there is or should be an evolution in leadership and staffing. Randall Guterman joined American Viewpoint in 2000. He is now our CEO and president, the undisputed leader of our team. Randy has the hardest work ethic of anyone I know. And the standards are exactly what I wanted in someone to succeed me in raising the bar on integrity, quality control standards, candidate analysis, and strategic insight in meeting the challenges of our industry. He is one of the pollsters who is constantly at the table when they talk about what are the challenges facing the industry and what are we prepared to do next. And he always has solutions to those particular problems. With Randy at the helm, our post-election planning process has become exhaustive reviews of business practices, refinements to the process that pushes us to the higher goals of achievement. Randy is the pollster for leader Kevin McCarthy in designing strategies to take over the House of Representatives. I named the company American Viewpoint for a reason. First of all, nobody knew who Linda DiVall was, so that was pretty simple. But second, having a company starting with A puts you at the start of the alphabet and the start of, in the old days, all the written material. So I kind of figured out DiVall & Associates was not a business model that was going to succeed. But our business is thriving, growing with a new generation of talent as we head into the future. We brought Andy Blunt in to be the Director of Strategic Development. Josh Davidson is our Vice President. Sean O'Donnell is our Chief Technology Officer, who we literally ran out into the street to bring back after we let him go after his first interview. And I said, Randy, we cannot let this guy go. I'm literally running down the street trying to chase Sean to get him back in the office to hire him. Abby Hendricks has a fancy title of being Research Director. I basically call her our air traffic controller. She makes things flow without interruption. Randy and I will sometimes have a plan of how we want things to go. Well, usually it's Abby who says how things are going to go, and she rarely allows us to get in her way of that plan of action. She's an incredible behind-the-scenes player who's been my right-hand person in all of my races. And then there is Celia Starr. Where would I be, where would American Viewpoint be without her? She takes on every mission, the most important, of course, being collecting the revenue, generating the invoices, and keeping track of our historical financial analysis. She's part of my life who has lessened my stress level considerably. We have a number of new people to American Viewpoint that are here with us tonight. Sage Davis, Mary Taylor, Stephen Selleck, who's back home. And we also have a person who's been my longest friend in political life, and that's Bob Dahl. He's a member of our board of directors at American Viewpoint. We have way too many stories we could tell you about bad things we did in Fort Worth, Texas together when we worked for a certain really kind of creepy bad guy who had a public affairs company, but we were desperate to get out on the road and steal yard signs, which we almost got arrested for. But I was director of polling, Bob was running 4 congressional races, and I was doing survey research when the phones were cut down because the owner had not paid the phone bill. So that was a little bit embarrassing. To my friend Nancy Duncan being by my side, and even as a Democrat, understanding the stress, challenges, and exhilaration of my career over the years, and putting up with my sometimes impatient attitude during tough campaign times, and usually my impatient attitude every day. I'd like to thank my family. My mom and dad aren't here, but they encouraged me to undertake my dream of starting my own company. And without their financial support, we would not be here today. So to the American Association of Political Consultants, again, thank you for what you do in recognizing the stars of the consulting industry and recognizing me with this Lifetime Achievement Award. It is meaningful and quite rewarding, And the tribute to Ross Bates was also quite inspiring. And thank you for introducing that to all of us. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Rose Kapelczynski, the immediate past president of AAPC, and so thrilled that that word past is in there now, and Becky Donatelli and Larry Wynn are doing all the heavy lifting. Wow, what inspiring stories about Ross Bates, who really transformed California politics and direct mail, and Linda DiVall. Even though you're a Republican, you've been a role model. You've been a role model for all women trying to get involved in politics. And I remember hearing about you in the 80s when I first got involved, so congratulations. 50 years ago, the AAPC began honoring the consultants who are doing the very best work in the country on political campaigns. Last year, we decided to start a new award, the President's Award for Public Service, to honor the consultant who was really making a difference outside of his or her day job, outside of the political consulting sphere. And I was thrilled when Jeff Pollock, friend, board member, and president of Global Strategy Group, nominated a person who really sets an example of how to do good and give back to the community. And here's a video to tell you a little bit about our inaugural honoree of the new President's Award.
So you had a heart attack, and that was a year ago.
Right. How are you, Dad? How's your life? Probably busier than I was before the heart attack.
You've been going non-stop for so long, Louis.
That's pretty Luis Miranda, his relentlessness to keep going. That's what I keyed in on when I was playing Hamilton. I was just playing my father. He's just a relentless motherfucker.
I am from Puerto Rico, a little town called Vega Alta.
All of us who come from Puerto Rico share an experience trying to do better in this other place.
Not everyone wanted us here. I saw that as an opportunity to reach out to other Latinos to open government to them.
Well, Letitia James, for Attorney General.
No kisses.
Hurricane Maria, the strongest hurricane in history to make landfall.
For me, Puerto Rico is this perfect place that all of a sudden doesn't exist anymore.
I immediately saw it as my responsibility to rebuild the island.
I tell him, I don't want to be a widow. There isn't another you to replace you.
Doing everything we can becomes the job.
Together, we cannot be stopped.
Thank you for putting that up. I'm Jeff Pollock, and I am here to introduce said honoree. It is very hard to explain who Luis Miranda is in a short period of time, but I think you're probably more interested in hearing from him than me. Don't clap back there. Luis and I have known each other for a long time. I started working with him in 2001. We were doing a race for mayor in New York City, where I was working for a guy named Fernando Ferrer. And we went through quite a year where we started off in fourth place, ended up on election day in first place, except as you may or may not remember, Election Day was September 11th, 2001. And so we went through quite a day, quite a tragedy for the city, quite a tragedy for the nation. And Election Day was actually canceled and postponed for a couple weeks. And Luis and I continue to fight on for our candidate, Freddie, who, as I said, came in first place, and then unfortunately, 2 weeks later, did not, thanks to what happened on 9/11 in all probability. Luis and I have shared office space since then. So people say to me all the time, how'd you get so lucky investing in Hamilton? And I said, it's every Jewish New Yorker's story, real estate. That's, of course, the answer. Luis and I have developed, Luis is just the most remarkable human being in the world, in some ways. He is more like my father than anybody I've ever met. If Lin-Manuel, you've heard of that shithead, if Lin-Manuel had never had a day of professional success, Luis and Luz would still be role models for excellent parenting. It is not the prize, it's how they treat and love their kids. That he would do anything for a friend, including telling you with brutal honesty just how much you're fucking up. That we have more fun, my wife and I certainly have more fun pretending to be Puerto Ricans at his parties than they do pretending to be Jews at the bar mitzvah. I will tell you, while I want him to come up and regale you with Hamilton and other great stories, the one thing I asked you to do when we're done, you saw that great documentary, or you can watch it, called Siempre Luis on HBO. Also, do yourself a favor and just do a little YouTube search for Lin-Manuel Miranda's wedding, where you see Luis Miranda do an entire 10-minute piece of Fiddler on the Roof. And so our shared sort of immigrant story, the Jews and the Puerto Ricans of New York City, has brought Luis and I together in so many ways. I love him dearly. He has a passion for Puerto Rico. He has a passion for politics. And he is one of the best friends I could ever ask for. Ladies and gentlemen, Luis Miranda.
Thank you, Jeffrey. This is for tall people.
I know.
Right?
Yes. There is a hand mic there if you want to step away from the podium.
Yes.
Yes. Now you can roam the stage.
Yeah, otherwise, I just see Caesar Palace. Want to thank Jeffrey. We have spent together now many decades, but I remember growing up in that little town that you saw with horses. This was just 3 years ago. And my favorite game was to make little flags of the party my family was affiliated with. And I had many cars. And I would put those little flags in each of the cars and spend hours moving one car at a time from one corner of the house to the other and do a caravan. It's incredible that 60 years later, I go to Orlando, where there is now 500,000 Puerto Ricans, and do flags and cars and caravans that go from one side of Kissimmee to the other side of Kissimmee. So my training in utilizing what is culturally relevant as a kid continues to be important now. I never thought that political consultant was going to put kids through college. When you're Puerto Rican and you go into a room of political consultants, there's not many people who look like me, who speak that like me 30 years ago or today. So it continues to be our responsibility to understand that we, on the one hand, can do any candidate with the political tools that we learn and that we have, and at the same time, we have the superpower of speaking Spanish, of not having to use Google Translation, and actually write Spanish in a way that may appeal to a Mexican American or a Mexican first generation or a Puerto Rican or a second generation Puerto Rican. And as we begin to grow as a community, we are finally beginning to understand the importance of talking to people like me, not only as a consultant, but as a voter. As the census shows that we are 62 million strong, the largest minority in the country, we all better get used to our Mexican brother-in-law, because they're coming. They're coming into everybody's home. And then your granddaughter is going to marry a Dominican. And your kids are going to be of Dominican ancestry. So no longer we're going to have to say, oh, I know you guys. My kid's nanny, it's from Central America. We love them. They're so sweet. Because they're going to be part of your family. They're going to be sitting at your Thanksgiving dinner. I remember when Hamilton began to become the sensation it did, getting invited to a dinner from the Hamiltons, like descendants of the Hamilton, like the fathers of the country. And here is this Puerto Rican, my wife is half Mexican, half Puerto Rican, and we show up to this dinner, and there's this brown kid. And I finally went to him and said, you're not serving food, so obviously you're not working at Tavern on the Green. How did you become a Hamilton? And he said, I married one. And that is the future of our country. When the kid of Puerto Rican and Mexican parents tell the story of our country in Hamilton, it shows the power of our country. That we are all going to tell the story of this country generation after generation. And it's the kid of Puerto Rican and Mexicans, the one that tells in Hamilton the stories of our founding fathers. So, as I do less and less political consultant, it's nice at many levels. One, because I don't give a shit about what I say. I don't have to protect clients anymore. Clients is not the most important thing in my head, and that is such a liberating feeling. I knew, as I was a political consultant, that if I had to be on TV, my candidate really fucked up, and I had to go and clean it up. Now I create my own messes, and that is so liberating. But two, that I get to continue to do what I love, which is politics, from a totally different perspective. It's how do I recruit more Latinos to run? 18% of the population, still 1% of those of us who are elected. How do we raise money for them? And how do we use, because I have learned that as well, the newfound dollars that Hamilton brought to our lives to elect people that we like, that we support, and that we believe in what they believe. So doing that, it's very, very rewarding. I hate Congresswoman Green. I think she is such a fucking joke. And the first thing I did after I got fully vaccinated was to go to her town. First thing I did, I got on a plane and I went to Georgia, because in the research I realized 30% of the people living in the town where she got elected by default are Latinos, are Mexican immigrants, many of them in their second generation. And when I went there, I realized they're not registered to vote. They haven't gone through the process of becoming American citizens. And we end up with monsters like Congresswoman Green when we don't participate in the political process. And so what I will do until the day I get that other heart attack that finally puts me down, it's to continue to make sure that everyone participates in the political process, and to continue to make sure that we strengthen our democracy so Congress people like Green are never elected. Thank you, and thank you for having me here.
Wow, I didn't think it was going to go so political. That's too bad. He was supposed to be being honored for his humanitarian efforts. Oh well.
Luis. My newest hire at Campaign Solutions is a Puerto Rican American Republican.
Yeah!
So that's the joy of AAPC, is we're truly bipartisan. Anyway, so COVID has taken a lot from us all. I'm sure no one in this room has been untouched, and we haven't at AAPC either. So since we were last together 2 years ago, we have lost some of our members, and so in memoriam, a tribute to those who are no longer with us. now we're going to pivot to the part of the program that the board especially loves. These are the board awards, the Campaign Excellence Awards. And every year we look at the landscape in entirety and decide who's the best of the best. The people that we most admire in our industry, the people who have done the best job, the people that we want to hold up to succeeding generations. This is the way you do your job. These people were nominated by our board, vetted, voted, and are being honored tonight by our board of directors. So without further ado, Kelly Gibson, our first award of Campaign Excellence 2021.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, I know, I'm so much tired.
It's ridiculous.
It's fine. We all, yes, you're very powerful in your tiny frame. Yes. So, I'm thrilled to kick this off. I had the really distinct pleasure of working on a ballot measure in the state of Oklahoma this last election cycle, State Question 802, which was to expand Medicaid in the state. And it was a tough sell. It was a tough campaign. Oklahoma presents a lot of challenges. This campaign presented an extraordinary amount of challenges. And I had the distinct pleasure of working with a wildly dedicated group of people on the ground, led by my dear friend Amber England. And she runs campaigns, she does political strategy like nobody I have ever met. Her dedication to the work, her discipline, her doggedness. I mean, she's up first, she goes to bed last. And this was not just any campaign, it was during a pandemic. And because of this team's efforts, 200,000 Oklahomans have access to health care. And in the first 2 hours when enrollment started, 125,000 Oklahomans signed up. This is important work. So I couldn't be more thrilled to sort of present Ballot Measure Campaign of the Year to my dear friend, Amber England.
Okay, well, I didn't think I was going to have to follow this one works. That, but okay, so here we go. Just really quickly, I just want to say that the foundation of success of this campaign was really the funders in Oklahoma. Before I ever stepped onto this campaign, there was a commitment to fully fund Medicaid expansion campaign in Oklahoma because our funders had a commitment to the people that it was going to actually impact. So far and away, that is so important. The national partnership with the Fairness Project, their early success in states like Maine and Utah and Idaho and Nebraska made Oklahomans believe that we could win, and they gave us the blueprint to make it happen. The team, they're here tonight. Please stand, guys. One day I'll write a book about how incredible they all are. Hire them. They're battle tested, and I'd bet on them every single day. The volunteers, they collected signatures in every single county of our state, and they really felt like they were part of our team. We tried really hard to educate them and empower them to make common sense decisions that pushed the campaign forward, and they really delivered. The people of Oklahoma, they were savvy enough to understand the fundamental problem we were trying to solve, and ultimately, they were the ones who delivered this win. Not my team, not my funders, the people of Oklahoma. In a state where both President Obama and President Biden didn't win a single county, we were the first state in the country to enshrine Obamacare in the Constitution of our state. The lesson here is that issues matter to voters, and if you lead with a problem and deliver a solution, voters will take that journey with you. Everyone in this room lives and dies by numbers. The polls and the models, the TV points, the digital engagement percentages, the turnout scores, and the direct mail plans. But ultimately, politics is about people and the impact that we can make on their lives. This is for the people of Oklahoma that desperately needed health care for 10 years and politicians ignored their cries. This team that's here tonight worked day in and day out to deliver health care in the middle of a pandemic on a ballot that was designed for us to fail. We won by 6,500 votes because the people of Oklahoma said, we want more health care, not less. It is time. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tom Shepard. Pleased to be here tonight for a number of reasons. One of which is, this is, to me, a very special occasion, this particular awards ceremony. It embodies everything that I care about in our association. There are many, one of our successes in recent years has been the fact that we've had so many young people attracted to the association and energizing what we do. But something that goes along with that is passing on traditions. And the experience we just went through with the Hall of Fame inductions is a very important part of that. We all sit on the shoulders of those who have preceded us, and we don't get an opportunity to recognize that often in our daily activities. What makes this, one of the things that makes our association so special is that we have an opportunity to recognize the people who preceded us and to learn from what they contributed to our profession. So I just want to acknowledge the fact that this is a very special evening for our association and appreciative of the fact that you all are here tonight. I'm responsible for recognizing the Campaign Excellence Award for Public Affairs and Issue Advocacy. There was no industry harder hit in our country as a result of the COVID pandemic than the restaurant industry. Thousands of businesses disappearing overnight, tens of thousands of workers losing their jobs. Our winning campaign tonight was one of many industries vying for federal, state, and state COVID relief, and was, as I said, one of the hardest hit in our country. The winner focused on building virtual advocacy infrastructure targeting the Hill and the administration. Through their efforts, they were able to secure $28.6 billion in restaurant revitalization funds, secure access to over $82 billion in PPP loans, and save restaurants $15.7 billion with PPP deductibility. I'm pleased tonight to recognize and honor with our Public Affairs Campaign of the Year Award, the National Restaurant Association.
It's so great to see everybody back together again. I really miss this. It's been a great evening. Congratulations to all the honorees. It's been an amazing 2 days, and this is going to continue. And I get the honor of recognizing an individual who held overall responsibility for campaign operations on a non-statewide candidate campaign. And Amber said it in her speech, and I'm going to reiterate it here. The sign of a great manager is someone who takes care of their people. This individual exemplifies that trait so much that when I was looking for her resume to write this speech, I found 15 emails of all of her staff's resume that she had sent me to help them find other jobs, but she never sent me her resume. She put her staff first, and they were fiercely loyal to her. She guided them through one of the most tumultuous elections in history, and her candidate, who had gone through several managers beforehand, found an advisor she would never let go of. When the dust settled on Election Day, and every other Democratic challenger for Congress in the country had lost, one remained and was the sole Democratic flip in 2020 for the entire country. Receiving our Campaign Manager of the Year non-statewide award, congratulations, Shelby Dantic of the Carolyn Bordeaux for Congress campaign.
Thank you, Joe. So honored to receive this recognition when I managed my first campaign through the 2020 cycle. I learned a lot, which is mostly that I have a lot left to learn. Or as they told this Montana girl in Georgia, bless your heart. It was awesome. I do have a lot to learn, but I do know one thing. I have a lot of people to thank. An election is not won by one person alone. So I do want to thank my staff, our indomitable team of interns, of course, Joe Listingy at the time, Chatterton Listingy, and Josh Wolf at AL Media and Zach McCrary at ALG doing our polling. Really appreciate this and so excited to learn from all of you. Thank you so much.
Just real quick, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, we all appreciate those who paved the way for us. And so in that spirit, I want to second what Daniela Sendeja said at lunch today, and that is gracias, Luis Miranda. Thank you so much. This Mexicano is very appreciative for all you've done. All right, so moving on. Our next award recognizes excellence in comprehensive independent expenditure campaign for any candidate or ballot initiative campaign. Many Democrats credit this team with helping give President Biden the win over Donald Trump, and with all due respect to the friends on the other side of the aisle, for many of us that means keeping the low D, small d democracy alive. And so for that, we're incredibly appreciative. But you see it in their work, because this team spent so much of their time and money before the election helping make sure that people were able to vote in almost 24 states. With a large investment in Georgia especially, they spent $23.5 million during the 2020 election cycle, and at the end of the cycle raised $34.5 million in just 39 days. So I'm proud to say that receiving our Independent Expenditure Campaign of the Year award, please congratulate Fair Fight, steered by Stacey Abrams and Lauren Grow-Wargo.
Hi, I'm Lauren Grow-Wargo, and I run Fair Fight. I'm so thrilled to be here to thank the American Association of Political Consultants for the Campaign Excellence Award for Independent Expenditure Campaign of the Year for our work in the Georgia runoffs that sent Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff to the U.S. Senate, changing the balance of power for Democrats in the U.S. Senate. We are so proud to give Leader Schumer that leadership role. It was a huge effort that we orchestrated in concert with so many local, national, and state allies here, and I could not be more proud of our team that delivered, despite historic amounts of voter suppression, violent threats, lies, disinformation, 360,000 voters challenged in the final weeks, thing after thing. We still ensured that Georgia voters were able to get out the vote, know where to vote, and elect these two incredible senators, changing the balance of power and changing the course of history. It was a massive tens of millions of dollars of effort that really focused on the communities of Georgia, Black voters in South Georgia, Latino voters of all ages, Asian American voters, progressive white voters, every single part of the state and every single community. We were mobilizing with our allies, voters of all ages. And we did every sort of tactic and strategy you could imagine, with culturally competent, excellent content, earned media, paid media, get out the vote efforts with a whole suite of diverse organizations out in the communities. We're so proud of that work and proving what we've always known. Georgia is the premier battleground state in the country. And for those of you who are watching who were not here in Georgia in 2020, you will surely be here in 2022. And you can be rest assured that Fair Fight will continue to fight to turn out the vote, to educate voters, to mitigate voter suppression, and continue to deliver for Democrats and progressive candidates up and down the ballot. So thank you so much for the recognition. It's a real honor for our team to win this award, and thank you so, so much.
Hi, I'm Betsy Ankeny. I'm here to present the award for Republican Fundraiser of the Year. And I have to say, after spending 2 months on the ground in Georgia, watching that gave me a little bit of PTSD, made my eye twitch a little bit, but kudos to Fair Fight on a job well done. But on to this award. So in a cycle when, campaign events were upended by COVID, where the Senate majority was hanging on by a thread, where the presidential campaign was taking up a lot of oxygen, this operation raised $106 million, made incredible gains for Republicans in the House, and laid the groundwork to take back the House for Republicans in 2022. So Republican Fundraiser of the Year goes to Team McCarthy, who unfortunately is not here to present this award, but I spoke to their finance director earlier today, and they are hard at work raising money to make sure we take back the majority in 2022. So kudos to Team McCarthy, and thank you all.
Hello, I'm Danielle Sindahus. And I am the proud sister of a Wisconsin voter who just got her PhD in chemistry. And the reason why I chose to give this award was because, I don't know about you, but at DNC conventions, my favorite thing is to bump into celebrities randomly. And so when we couldn't do that in Milwaukee in 2020, the Democratic Party of Wisconsin still delivered some chance encounters with celebrities. So I think it was a random Instagram ad from the West Wing Weekly podcast, which I am a big fan of. And if you haven't binge watched The West Wing, do the podcast while that's a pro tip. But I did buy a ticket to this virtual recording of the West Wing Weekly podcast featuring some of the cast, including my personal idol, Mr. Bradley Whitford, who I work out at the same gym at, and play Josh Lyman, who's my personal idol. And apparently others did too, because it raised more than $150,000 for the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. And then came a bunch of Twitter activity and friends sending emails about a Princess Bride reunion and some script reading. And then it was a Veep cast reunion, and then the cast of Superbad. And somehow they all got together to really, raise money for one of the most competitive battleground states in our country. And so none of this happens without a great team, and a team willing to be creative and try new things and shift at the time when we're no longer able to be together. And with more than $60 million raised, and a victory for President Joe Biden, with more than 20,000 votes, the Democratic Fundraiser of the Year goes to Laura Henderson and her team from the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. Go Badgers.
Okay, this is kind of absurd, but this is kind of a testament, I think, to taking risks. Working for a state party, it's not sexy, but we showed it was possible. So I want to thank everyone who joined this team and was in this fight. And then thanks to everyone who thought a drunken idea to reunite the cast of The West Wing when we no longer had a convention maybe would work, and then another drunken idea to reunite the cast of Princess Bride that might possibly raise $100,000, and then $5 million later, here we are. So, you know, it's just a testament to taking risks. So I want to thank Bradley Whitford, of course, he's incredible, Rob Reiner, Norman Lear, Carrie Ellis, and surprisingly, Ted Cruz for making this possible. And of course, also, thank you to my husband, my brother, who are here with me tonight. Thank you for Jeff Pollock for reaching out to me about this and just being incredible in every single way. So this is fantastic, and really want to thank everyone. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a cute story about the next recipient of our awards, the Campaign Manager of the Year statewide Republican. But then I got upended by this.
Hello, everybody. Senator Lindsey Graham here. Thank you so much for acknowledging Scott Farmer's great job as campaign manager for my campaign last time. Hello, Jenny. The whole family went through this exercise. The thing that strikes me the most is that we started in South Carolina with a race, really was not on anybody's radar screen, and all of a sudden, by the time it was over, my opponent raised $132 million, the most in the history of the United States Senate for anybody, and I raised the most, $110 million, as a incumbent senator. What happened in my race, nobody really saw coming. But campaigns are about the ability to adapt. And what Scott did for us, his leadership, allowed us to adapt to something that nobody saw coming. And I think one of the reasons you're honoring him tonight is that we did a damn good job in the digital area. Most of my campaign fundraising came from digital. In the end, I think we raised $49 million from October to the election. And that cycle, it took a life of its own, and it was a well-run operation. The ability to adapt is key to winning politics, and Scott's just been a steady hand for so long. All of us on Team Grimm are proud of him, and thank you so much for recognizing his abilities. And Scott, you've earned this. Enjoy it. You and Jeannie mean the world to us and me, and just enjoy it, and we'll get them again next time. God bless.
Scott, will you come up and accept your award, please?
I did not expect that. As a matter of fact, when I got this email notifying me of this award, I literally at first thought it was a joke. And then but it didn't have the act now within 20 minutes or the offer goes away. It didn't have a 5X match, and it didn't have the pre-check box. So then I realized maybe this is a legitimate email. So thank you to the AAPC. To Senator Graham, I just want to give him just tremendous credit. He is an incredibly smart and capable candidate. He loves his job, and like him or not, he's involved in every big fight in Washington. And he has a saying that has made an impact on me over the years. He said, Scott, what's the point in having the job if you're not going to do something with it? And yeah, absolutely. Lindsey Graham has done a lot with the job and has been involved in all the major fights in Washington, and it has been an honor to work with him for now 20 years. To Team Graham, we had a tremendous team of consummate professionals who were honestly a joy to be around. And those of us who do this for a living know not every campaign, you can't say that. They are one of the most professional team of low drama folks I have ever worked with. And when we weren't at the office working, most of the staff was hanging out at somebody's house, and that's when you know you have real friendships. And I told especially our young members of our team, you will remember this campaign for the rest of your life. This is something special. We executed, of course, the blocking and the tackling that every campaign does, but we also knew when your original budget is $18 million and then it goes to $38 million, and on election day it's $110 million, you're scaling as you go. And so we knew things were happening, ground was shifting beneath our feet. And I told them, we are pioneering some things in the digital space and our canvassing and our outreach stuff, some of the things we did on this race. $250 million being spent in South Carolina? I mean, are you kidding me? So we saw some things and did some things that I hope will stand the test of time. To my family, I am incredibly grateful to my wife, Jeannie, and to my two boys, Alex and Andrew. And for those of you all who do this for a living, guys, this is not normal. Working 80-hour weeks and pouring yourself into what you do for something bigger than yourself, if you don't have a family around you that supports you, it all falls apart. So thank you to my family, and go home and thank your family for the opportunity to do what we do. The crazy hours, the travel far and wide, to be a part of something so big is so great. Most importantly, I want to end with this. Finally, and most importantly, I give God the honor for giving me the opportunity to lead this campaign. It is likely one of my last campaigns that I work on, because God is leading me into new endeavors. I'm taking seminary classes, and I'm likely moving in the direction of a full-time ministry role down the road. Let me leave you with this one word of caution to all of us who do what we do, because it is important. Don't hear me say anything otherwise. It's critically important because we impact people's lives. But it's not eternal. Don't put your eternal faith and confidence in a person or idolize a candidate or a leader, because you will be disappointed. We're all people, and they will let you down. We all make mistakes. Instead, I want to encourage you with this: focus on walking daily with God and making your life count for eternity. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna keep it moving because we know we want to go. I'm Larry Wynn, I'm Vice President of the board at AAPC. Thank y'all for being here. I'm here to honor our next award. Goes to a campaign manager on the Democratic side for statewide manager of the year. And this goes to the person who helped manage the John Ossoff for Senate campaign. And, you know, we all work toward November and E-Day, and the reward these folks got was that you got to keep working. And not just keep working, but have another campaign happening at the same time that you got to figure out how to make it all work together, but still run your own race. And the degree of difficulty there is immense, and there was so much money coming in, and they were smart. They started controlling the things that they could do and doing more original things, advanced things, relational organizing, not just dumping money just to dump money. And come the night of the election, our award winner and Senator-elect Ossoff were probably the second and third happiest people in America, because let's be honest, the happiest person in America was Chuck Schumer. So I want to congratulate and have come up Ellen Foster from the John Ossoff for Senate campaign.
Thank you so much to the AAPC. This is such an honor. Want to say thank you to all the staff and volunteers that poured their hearts into Georgia, gave up holidays and time with family, and thank you to the organizers in Georgia that
were on the ground doing this work long before I was. Thank you to our amazing consulting team, John Vogel, Mike Riley over at MBAR, Ed Peavy, Maren Hesla, Paul Feingold at Mission Control. Thank you so much to Fred Yang, Keenan Pontoni, and finally, thank you to Senator Ossoff, who is just the best boss and showed that you could be graceful under pressure of the entire country. So thanks so much.
Okay, I am here to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm kidding. I'm here to talk about Pollster of the Year. Pollster of the Year is a tough one for us to do this year because, as the great Linda DiVall talked about earlier, we had kind of a rough year. And so talking about giving this award created a lot of challenges this year in terms of the conversation. So this year, the award is being given out to something a little bit different than usual, not one of our colleagues from the polling industry directly, but a gentleman from the labor movement on the Democratic side. He has a day job at the AFL-CIO, but what he did incredibly this year was start a weekly Zoom call where he would bring together all of the best minds on the Democratic side in data and analytics to force us to share our stuff. And force us to communicate and talk about the things that each of us was learning so that we could then extend those learnings to other things. So for that, this year, he's not here and there's no video, so it's just this. For that, we award this award this year for Polling and Analytics Pro of the Year to Mike Podhorzer of the AFL-CIO.
Hello, I'm Joanna Burgos. I'm Cuban, so I can talk really fast so we can all leave. All right, so let's pretend COVID didn't postpone everything or this conference. We'd be sitting here 3 months post-election. The biggest story for Republicans wouldn't be the presidential race or the Senate. The biggest takeaway from 2020 is how savagely House Republicans crushed all expectations. Republicans flipped 15 seats, despite all projecting double-digit losses. Thanks to many, but especially tonight's Republican most valuable player. Under this person's leadership, Congressional Leadership Fund became the single largest House super PAC in U.S. history, raising $167 million. CLF won 20 of the 23 races it invested in, and 2020 was the first cycle where no Republican incumbent lost since 1994. How can that success happen with a lousy environment, despite the top of the ticket, and every news headline saying that Republicans were sure to fail? Well, the tenacity and confidence that this individual, a good friend and client, personifies. Whether you're a member, a candidate, a donor, you meet with him and there is no doubt that he's going to do everything in his power to help Republicans win. For proving every reporter and cynic wrong and utterly changing the impact of the Republican outside group, this year's Republican most valuable player is Dan Constant. And he speaks really fast too, right? Yeah.
All right, I will be really brief. First, thank you, Joanna. Thank you, AAPC. This is really cool. Look, I'm really proud of the work CLF did. We obviously far outperformed expectations. We elected a lot of good people. We elected people that were the best and brightest across this country that give me hope for the future of politics, give me hope for the future of the country. Obviously, we did a little bit better than some people thought. and I think we're going to finish the job this next year. None of this is possible without my team. I think a lot of folks in this room know the people at CLF, know our team. They did an incredible job. They really deserve a ton of credit. I also owe a ton of thanks to the support and leadership of Kevin McCarthy, who has had my back since day one, and to a very, very understanding wife. We have 2 children under 2. So thank you, Kara. I'm grateful to all of them. Look, CLF was the biggest House Super PAC in American history this past cycle. I think we're going to do it again by a good margin, and I think we're going to win back the majority, and we know we got a lot of work to do, but we're going to get it done. Thank you.
Hello, I am Scott Simpson. I'm going to do this in like TikTok speed, so nobody knows what that is. Similarly, this next award recognizes an individual who made significant contributions to the outcome of a Democratic campaign or cause. The individual served as senior advisor to the DSCC in the 2020 election cycle, playing an instrumental role in defeating 2 Republican incumbents and guiding Democrats to victory in Georgia runoffs that secured the Democratic majority in the Senate, which still exists actually, whether you believe that or not. This individual helped lead the charge to flip the Senate last cycle and has been tapped to lead the Democratic incumbents and challengers to more success in 2022 as executive director at the DSCC, receiving our Most Valuable Player of the Year Democratic Award. Please join me in congratulating Christy Roberts.
Hi everyone, Christy Roberts here. I'm sorry I'm not able to be with all of you in person, but I just wanted to say thank you for this honor and the recognition. It means a lot. And I especially want to thank the AAPC for acknowledging the important work that happened on the ground in Georgia, both in the run-up to the November election and then, of course, culminating in the 2 U.S. Senate runoffs earlier this year. When I got in my car to drive down to Georgia for the final 9-week runoff period, we knew that we needed to do everything perfectly to have a shot at victory. And we knew that even if we did do everything perfectly, that we were still in for a really tough fight. And it was really due to the strength of the 2 candidates, now Senators John Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock, to the excellent strategic consulting teams on each of the campaigns, top-notch staff and operatives on the Senate campaigns, on the ground at the Georgia Coordinated Campaign, and at the DSCC. That was what really allowed us to make history by bringing together the winning coalition that we needed to be successful. And we all know that no one wins elections alone, and it was truly an honor to be a part of this collective effort to not only win 2 U.S. Senate seats, but to ultimately flip the U.S. Senate blue to the Democratic Party. So thank you again so much for the acknowledgement of all the work that happened in Georgia, and I look forward to catching up with all of you sometime soon. Take care.
So this Irish couple goes to Cape Cod, and they love the no. Okay, so can you imagine, Linda DiVall said something really, really important for Republicans, and I suspect the same thing is being going on with the Democrats an awful long time, which is to try to convince voters and to vote for somebody, but more importantly, try to recruit candidates to run for public office anymore. It's more and more difficult. So you can imagine if you live in Los Angeles where there is probably 10 Republicans in a phone booth, all right? And they recruit a candidate who's a female, and she's going to run in a district that Bill Clinton won, Barack Obama won again, and she runs for Congress. Then the party disappears. She was outspent 44-1. The Democrats, outside money, put $3.5 million. The Republicans ponied up $75,000 for the Los Angeles media market. Despite everything else, with 100,000 more voters, 20,000 more votes than Donald Trump, this young lady is now a force of nature in the Congress. The Republican Campaign of the Year goes to Young Kim, and Sam O and George Nasser are here to get their award. Great job, guys.
Come on, Sam.
Great job, man. Thank you. Excellent job, brother. Okay, we're going to get pictures taken. You guys get the whole bit. I don't need to do them all.
So, I mean, we all work in politics. We work with each other. We work against each other. And I think there's one thing that we can all agree on, and campaigns are really tough. Late nights, we're all sacrificing. Everyone's upset about something. A lot of heartbreak. If you're lucky, there's some joyful moments in there, and then there's more heartbreak, and we do it all over again. But I think we all learn to persevere. I think many of you know young Kim actually lost her 2018 race, and now she's a member of Congress. And I think that's just a huge testament to who she is. She's tireless, she's a fighter, she's a self-proclaimed tiger mom, which is really unfortunate for me because I'm also Korean. So that leads to some, funny instances where she's just treating me like her son. But I do want to thank Young first and foremost because she persevered, she fought, she ran again, she trusted George and I to run her campaign. There are so many people I want to thank. Many of them, again, like I mentioned, how everyone's upset. If I don't mention them, they'd be very upset with me. Rebecca Sheba Brown, she's a coworker at Target Victory. She would probably tell you she does all the work. I get a lot of the credit. She's not wrong. Martin Reaney, Maddie Vogel, Patrick Massette, Lynette Choi, Bob Honold, Stephen Pitts, George Nassar right here, our pollster, who is actually my chaperone because no one trusts me to be here by myself in Vegas. So I'll let you go.
Just real quick, thank you so much. This is a great honor. Thank you to the AAPC. We all have those campaigns we remember for a lifetime that you talk about decades later. This is certainly one of them, and this recognition makes it even more special. So thank you very much. Proud of our team, and thank you especially to our fantastic candidate and now Congresswoman, Young Kim. Thank you.
So the last, is this the last? This is the last. This is the last! And there's still free drinks with Becky Donatelli. The last award, this is kind of cool, because this is the first time we've had a father-daughter recipient coming for the AAPC, just like it was the first woman pollster in the Hall of Fame. This is the first time we had a father-daughter, and this is Mr. Rick Ritter. This is great. Thank you. Excellence Award. Goodbye.
Thank you. All right. My name's Rick Ritter, RBI Strategies and Research, Denver, Colorado. Our final award recognizes excellence in a Democratic candidate campaign. This campaign team took back key Midwestern states and expanded the Democratic presidential geography to Arizona and Georgia. But further, the campaign found unique methods to communicate to voters in an unforeseen pandemic, and in doing so, fundamentally changed the way that we conduct our campaigns today. Through their talent and dedication, this team was able to mobilize voters, establish a new road map for Democratic presidential campaigns, and for only the 10th time in American presidential history, defeat an incumbent president. Receiving our Democratic Campaign of the Year award, join me in congratulating Jen O'Malley Dillon, Steve Ricchetti, Anita Dunn, Cedric Richmond, John Anzalone, Celinda Lake, Mike Donnellan, Kate Bedingfield, Natalie Quillian, Becca Siegel, Jen Ritter, I know her, Patrick Bonsinare, Bruce Reed, Anthony Bernal, Annie Tomasini, Simone Sanders, Steph Feldman, Pete Kavanaugh, Katie Petrellis, Julie Rodriguez, Aaron Wilson, Rob Flaherty, Dana Remus, Kurt Bagley, David Kiva, Greg Schultz, Bob Bauer, Megan Apper, Silas Lee, Matt Barretto, Cristobal Alex, and the hundreds of thousands of volunteers, staffers, friends, and contributors to the Joe Biden for President campaign. Accepting the award on behalf of the campaign is Scott Simpson, direct mail consultant to the Biden campaign. Thank you very much.
I'm going to be very brief because I think this is a campaign that is not going to get every credit for the race that they put together and ran. This is the second time I did direct mail for a campaign, for a presidential campaign, and we were talking about why we lost until August of 2017, but very few people ever discuss the campaign that was put together here by the Biden team, by a largely woman-led campaign team that gets no credit for executing an amazing strategy to take out an incumbent president in the middle of a global pandemic. So not enough can be said, and I definitely can't do it justice at this point, but excited to be part of it. Thank you.
Okay, my microphone's gone. Good, that's the sign of the times here. My microphone is gone. George, I don't know where it is, but thank you, everybody. This concludes our program. Breakfast will be served here tomorrow morning at 8:30, and sessions begin at 9:15. You guys are great. Congratulations to all of the winners. You are amazing.